I've been thinking about an idea for a while, a couple of years, and I think it's a pretty simple premise to get, but maybe the implications of it, like the consequences of it, can be quite complex if you sort of think about it for a while. So the idea is a war number. So basically, the premise is simple. Um, for every time you talk about war or romanticize war, or you say, if you're pro-war, um, you your war number increases, and then when countries go to war, you are organized, on the front lines of battle based on your war number. So the person who spoke the most about the most fanatical, emphatic person who speaks about war has to be at the front line of that war, and the person who spoke the least is sort of the last to go to war. And so, the premise is simple, and I think probably the first reaction that a lot of people would have if they're pro-war, would be, against it. I'm not, advocating that I'm for or against this idea. It's just an idea. It's just an idea that I've been thinking about a lot. So I think the first thing that would happen is a lot of people that are pro-war uh, would probably be against the idea, because tradition is that older the older generation encourages the younger generation to go to war and die in glory. I'm old enough now. I think I'm outside of the drafting age. Um, so for me, war. I don't think I would suffer the consequences of war, except for in an economic or sort of more abstract way. But anyways, so yeah, I think the first thing is people would say, if they're always talking about war and encouraging war, that they would be mad by it. That they'd say the best soldiers should go, and we're analysts and we analyze the war, and we we are valuable for our strategy and stuff like that. But if you think about it, as like I can't think of a more fair system than the people who are most enthusiastic about something, that they participate in it the most, right? It should be that if you, especially if it's something negative, right? If you want something, right, and you want it the most, then you have to, participate in it the most. And it's like, for a long time there hasn't been an arrangement where the most vocal proponents of war, um, go to war, lead their army into battle. But if you go back farther, to a couple hundred years ago, that was sort of the protocol. That was sort of the tradition, is that the knights and the royalty, they would lead their army into battle, and it is that was tradition before that. Even if you were sort of the senior, I don't know if the king led his army. I think there was sort of historically that happened. I don't know that much about history, but I could also imagine a situation in which that was just made up. So, for a long time, only the people in power had control over history. So they just said, okay, yeah, I was the king and I led the army into battle. So just put that in there. I was very brave, but maybe it didn't actually happen. Okay, so yes, so that's sort of my argument for the war number. But then I thought, well, are there unintended consequences of a war number? So let's say, okay, that's maybe fair, but you could imagine that if something like that was instated, then the next thing that would happen is that, the people with enough power or money to persuade things would try to get out of it. I think, right? It's only rational. No one wants to be the person on the front lines dying in the war, right? And that's why traditionally, or not traditionally, but quite recently, the poorest have to go, and that's who's on the front lines. But so you think people with the power to get out of it would probably be able to get out of it. And then even further than that is the people with the power to persuade others would probably, in sort of underhanded ways, convince the most vulnerable people to then speak up about going to war. So it would probably, even if a war number was instated, and it's like, there was a populist, I don't know, revolt, and they said, okay, everyone has to agree to this war number idea. It would probably get manipulated, and then after that, what would also probably happen is people with power or persuasion would say, if there's a war number, then we should also rank other parts. Like there's a debt number, like the people that speak the most about debt, or I don't know. There's like like a cruelty number or something like that, and the people who say the meanest things, are ranked and stuff like that. And then what could happen is if you start ranking the words people say and giving them point systems based on what they're saying, is then like all sorts of other unintended consequences could happen. Like free speech could be curbed, or any sort of, what's that word? Civil disobedience or something like that. That's not the exact word I was looking for. Dissenting opinions could also be cooled, with a ranking system on numbers. So I've presented to you now an idea that I think is an original idea. I don't know if anyone's ever thought of a war number, or like ranking what people are saying. And then I also present to you the reasons why it probably shouldn't exist. So I'm not sure. The problem with search is that new ideas. It's hard to get new ideas, I think, to people using search, because if you think about it, how does someone find a new idea? How does someone search for that if they don't even know it exists? So it would take a lot of effort to get this idea to other people, I think, on my part, because I'd have to search out others, places where people generally look for things. But it's just a thought I had, and I'm sort of thinking maybe it would make a good piece of fiction at some point, like a little short story about the war number or something like that. Another closely related, well, not that closely, but another related idea I had, and maybe I'll make a separate video, was the idea that you had a maximum amount of words that you could write in a year. There was some sort of strange dystopian society in which you were only given a limited amount of words, and maybe the idea would be because everyone deserves equal attention or something like that we'd only all be allowed to write 5,000 words a year, so that everyone could have their voice I like to think about stuff like that, where it's like you get points based on the words you use. So, yeah, that was my little musing on the war number. That's so maybe that's a good start for a science fiction short story at some point, or just an interesting idea that I think about a lot. All right, signing off. Thanks for listening.